Three Grots in a Vox is intended for a mature audience. This means there will be crude language and discussions of adult themes, especially if we're talking about tactical marines or Gabriel Seth. Viewer discretion is not only advised but encouraged. All opinions are our own and often given for humorous purposes. Any advice is given largely for entertainment purposes and would probably be ignored. But if you do learn something useful, count it as a win.
Who's introing?
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to this completely non-sports related thing that we do every now and then, where we're not going to talk about Blood Angels except peripherally in how this stuff relates to Blood Angels, because John, for the first time in how many years? All the years we've known you, actually has a second army. Ooh. And how did you get this second army, John?
Because someone was going to sell it for way too cheap.
And it's all fully painted. And you didn't.
And it's all fully painted. And what's worse is I bought it like the last week of December, and I haven't taken it out of the box yet. Is that bad?
Oh, dude.
I've played Blood Angels like 4 times though.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
it's a beautiful army. And I'm interested in Eldar stuff and have been for donkey's years, so I'm up for it. And Tony is a mug, so he's here to talk about Eldar as well, basically.
I own an Eldar.
Yeah.
An Eldar. Oh, cool.
Awesome.
And I've got a box of metal Rangers, a couple of boxes of metal Harlequins, a box of metal Warp Spider. Basically, I've got a load of old metal Aspect Warriors.
Oh, awesome.
Because Eldar is one of those armies that I've always been about that close to properly collecting. Because I have some phenomenal models and they don't change them very often.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've just gained a few of them and gone, I might do some Eldar. I had a Dark Eldar army for a while, played that for a bit.
Yeah.
But I gave that away, which was possibly a silly thing to do because it was quite a large army and I just gave it to someone. And quite well painted. But I've never actually quite fallen over into making an Eldar army. So I'm interested. I'm tempted.
Yeah.
Tempt me further.
Fair enough.
I was going to say, this guy...
Before we get too much into the detail and stuff, we have to do the traditional what are we drinking this evening kind of thing.
Let's do that.
What are we drinking this evening?
Tony, you are the man that leads this segment.
What am I drinking? Nothing exciting, but I've got a Hazy Jane today.
Nice.
I quite like it. It's a nice, easy drinking beer. I haven't had a beer for ages, so I'm quite looking forward to this. But
John's drinking a pot of yellow paint.
I haven't had a beer in ages either, so I'm going to join you tonight with a Session IPA.
Nice.
Gluten-free, apparently. Like, I care about that if I'm drinking beer.
Well, I've had a good...
Genuinely, I've got a buddy who's celiac disease, so he can only drink gluten-free.
Okay.
And he loves his beer, and he struggles to find nice beer that is also gluten-free. So he tends to drink cider, but he actually hates cider. But it's about the only thing that's gluten-free when you're buying these things.
Okay.
Well, I've had a good month.
Tell me.
And I'm about to piss off on holiday, so I've treated myself to a £6 150ml bottle of chilled sparkling sake, which I'm going to enjoy.
Very nice.
Very nice.
It's a lot of money for not a lot of liquid, but it's really nice. And I've had it once before.
So this is the new Phoenix Lord, Tony.
Yeah, it's the first new Phoenix Lord in a very long time.
And this model was a disaster for me.
It was a bugger to build, yeah.
I ripped both these arms off, and I apparently had them round the wrong way. These little arms that attach to the base.
Yeah.
And then, so I had to rip them off and re-glue them. And I'm hoping that when I spray him, it will cover up all the poly cement that you can see shining on him basically everywhere.
So talking of things that might tempt me, he's one of them.
Lycus is not attached to the base at all by his feet. He's like held up by a couple of prongs of lightning and the 2 little web spinner blade prong things at the back. So
I mean, he might be a bugger to build, but he's an absolute triumph of modern digital design.
Have you seen him in person at all yet?
No, not in person.
I'll bring it across on Tuesday then.
That'd be nice. So on this Sunday, as we film this, the Sunday just gone when it comes out, I'm off to Warhammer World for the anniversary, the birthday.
Oh, cool.
So my buddy's got me a ticket for that. So I'm going to go up there with them. And I'm hoping to see some of the stuff in person.
Oh, that'll be cool if it's in the display
you
cabinet.
absolutely will do.
That'll be pretty cool. And I haven't been to Warhammer World for a while.
No, not me. I didn't realise that was an event that was going on. That's a shame.
Yes, it's the store anniversary birthday for Warhammer World this weekend.
Oh, cool.
No,
I
I
remember
don't
we
remember either, to be honest.
Yeah, we went there a couple of years ago. That was good.
If you're in the hobby shop
Yeah.
and you see a man called Sean who
Is
works
he going to have a
there
sign
now,
on his head that says, "My name is Sean"?
probably because it's going to say he works at Games Workshop, so he will have a name on his tag, I assume, that says Sean. Then he just moved there this week from Aberdeen Games Workshop. He posted on his Facebook. I played him at the last GT here in Elgin and said that he's super excited to move to the Warhammer World shop. And when I played him in the GT, his list, he was the guy that brought 180 boys and a Stomper.
All right, so he's got taste. That's fair enough.
You like that?
It was a very, very skew list, but it was also a very, very fun game because it was like, okay, you're just going to rush me with 180 boys and shoot me with a Stomper. He's like, yes. I was like, all right, cool, let's play.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
So you might like this. I actually bought some paints from Aeldari as well, Tony. Look at this. Paints I never had before. So I've never actually had Army Painter paints. So I get 2, and I got some Urel yellow, some Trollslayer orange.
It's a bit chalky sometimes, but actually, if you thin it down nicely, I quite like Hero Yellow. I think it's one of the better acrylic yellows. That's going to get us cancelled. Someone will be like, "Can't say that."
You're not allowed to like GW. And then I bought my 3rd contrast paint, which is Apothecary White, because I keep
Which is
hearing
really good for painting white. It's brilliant. I've done a whole load of Imperial Assault stormtroopers with it, and it's really, really good.
So you have to see how you get on with the Army Painter, because I got the old Army Painter paint, and I thought that they were the biggest garbage shit that I've ever used.
Oh, jeez.
Are they the ones that are meant to like reactivate with water or something?
No, that was the Mark 1 speed paints that they did. Their
okay.
paints, but these are like their normal ones. But supposedly, I haven't tested it because I bought some and they were shite. The new formulation for the Army Painter War paints is really, really good.
Okay.
They got a lot of feedback from the community and things like that, and they've gone completely back to the drawing board, reformulated them. Right. And then recently they've re-released their War Paints range, and now it's supposedly excellent. But I haven't bitten the bullet yet.
All right, well, I will let you know.
Get you over to the Element Games main store, because what Warhammer World is to Warhammer, that is to just the hobbying in general. Yeah. And
I'd love to
all
go
that sort of hobbying stuff. You'd absolutely adore it.
Everybody knows I'm a massive paint nerd, and I think I've got about 4 more ranges of paint here that I haven't even tested yet.
Yeah, good for you. It has drive for you, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's a bit fun.
Anyway, to the point. So, as a point of note, is this Codex like one of the first 10th edition Codex to have actual original artwork on the front cover?
I do not.
Because the Blood Angel one reused old artwork, if I recall correctly.
It did. It used the 9th edition art. Yeah.
And this is really nice. Nice picture of Fugan. Or Fuegan, or however you pronounce his name.
The previous edition Codex was all new art as well, wasn't
it? Yeah.
I mean, does it make sense because they had such a big refresh, or do you think it's random?
Maybe. I mean, it's essentially what they've had is the second half of the range refresh they started with 9th edition. Yeah, almost everything is now...
Have they got any remaining, apart from weird things, sort of Forge World and shit like that, have they got any old...
They don't, because anything that didn't get changed is now squatted. It's all gone. They didn't upgrade Karandras. He doesn't have a model that isn't Finecast, therefore Karandras has been chucked.
Karandras has got chucked?
He's not in the book anymore. He's Legends.
So we're missing a Phoenix Lord. We got a Phoenix Lord, but lost a Phoenix Lord.
Yeah, the law says he's wandered off somewhere. He's fucked off. He's missing.
He'll be back with a new model in 11.
Because he can't have all the Phoenix Lords in one place, because then it's Ranadandra and the End Times and blah blah blah. Although they have said the name of the Shining Spears Phoenix Lord, which we never knew before, which is quite interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I quite like to be honest, I've got no issue with that, because they've not just killed him off or something. And what it means is that they've effectively, over the last 2 editions, had a really big range refresh, really in-depth, loads of new cool stuff. And it means that it really is next edition their turn to just get a model.
Yeah.
With that one. You know what I mean?
It's a bit... If you want to hold on to it for that sort of time period for the model, yeah, absolutely. Assuming that if you've already got one that's painted, that's something you would do.
Yeah, so it's quite nice. So it means that next year we almost know what that. Hopefully, let's do some left field, but it means that potentially next edition, then we'll get the new one, new model for him. He'll come back. Do you reckon that we'll get the ever get the Forge World Aspect Warriors?
What were they called? The ghosty, floaty things.
Yeah.
His name I've forgotten. Maybe, but GW haven't really been in a hurry to redo plastic versions of Forge World things.
No, not
the Arms Horus Heresy. Irrelith and the oh god, what were they called? I can't remember what they were called. Shadow Spectres. Irrelith and Shadow Spectres.
Yes.
They were horrifically overpowered as well because they could move.
They're cool.
They are pretty nice firepower. They had like mini fire prism guns as their guns, and yeah, they were really good. God knows, they might do, they might not.
Right. Okay. Let's go. Aeldari, because we can't copyright the world Eldar.
Because it's all Lord of the Ringsy or something.
Yep.
Correct. This is a beautiful book. The first impressions are just everything is very beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you that. It's very pretty and colourful and Dying Empire and all this sort of jazz. I mean, it's always been a colourful army to collect with all the different aspects and so forth that they have. All the faction colours normally only apply to the Guardians and vehicles more than anything else, and the aspects always have their fixed sort of like colour schemes. But you get a nice new army picture a page over.
Yeah, and we've got 100 pages of lore, give or take, because the army rules start on 101. Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
The stupid webway gate filling up half the battlefield. Nice.
And that's all.
Did they nerf webway? I suppose we'll come to that in a bit because
the webway gate also got squatted.
Really? Because that's why one of the things I just bought. God damn it!
There are no rules for it anymore. It is just purely an aesthetic terrain piece only.
Good, if I'm honest.
I'm going to text Miles and see can I get my money back for the webway gate, please.
Do you remember it had that stupid set of rules where you could basically cross over the two thingies?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you could deep strike anywhere next to it. There was no restriction or something.
Games taking the piss. There's a difference there.
Yeah.
It was just really badly. But I just think, to be honest, just get rid of all the terrain. Just terrain shouldn't be in the books. Because all of it has never worked properly. It's either been wildly shit or just broken.
In theory, yeah. I mean, I like the idea of being able to seed the battlefield with like fortifications that you drop from orbit. That sort of thing. That's kind of cool. All your little tarantulas and stuff.
It was just too hard to make it work with the rules. The whole.
Not as hard.
What it ended up being was you had the table as normal, but you could buy a terrain piece that could only go in your deployment zone, and
on the one hand, yes. On the other hand, there's still rules for aircraft technically.
Well, I was going to say, what was the Tau shield platform you could buy that was giant as well? I forget what that was.
That was awesome. Yeah, and huge, and very good, and then went away after a few years.
So, in the lore, the Aeldari are a dying race. So, just be prepared for their entire new refreshed range to be squatted for 12th edition as they all die.
Do you know much about the Eldar lore, John? And do you give shit?
I know nothing, but you can easily fill me in.
All right. So, basically, the Eldar, before the split into Eldar and Dark Eldar, Drakari, and all this sort of stuff, they were this massive hedonistic race that lived only for sensation. They were basically immortal. They were one of a number of races created by the Old Ones, including the Orcs, as living weapons against their ancient enemies, which were the Necrons or the Catan or Star Gods or something along those lines. Yeah. And then when the war ended, the Orcs went off and did their thing, and the Eldar went off and did their thing. The Eldar basically ruled the galaxy for millennia, until the point where they were so hedonistic that their psychic shockwaves basically gave birth to Slaanesh.
I think my favourite description of that is they managed to murder fuck their way into their own new god.
Indeed. And the Eye of Terror was created. That was the home world of the Eldar.
That's a party.
And it all got so bad that Slaanesh was born and ripped a hole in the galaxy and created the Eye of Terror.
That's working hard.
eliminated 90% of the Eldar race, except those who had decided that they didn't want any of this shit. They're all going to fly off in their craft worlds and have this massive exodus away from where it's all gone to hell.
And don't forget the Exodites.
Yeah, there's the Exodites who live on sort of like crone worlds, they're called, or maiden worlds, one of the two.
That's something that I was a bit sad that we've not seen more of.
Yeah, there's been rumours about for a while. They're like big and green and dinosaur riding, and they're all about like pristine planets and so forth.
Riding dinosaurs.
The Drakari tried to escape Slaanesh by living in the Webway and doing whatever the hell they like, hidden from her gaze and eating. And the Craftworld Eldar fly off in their craft worlds, which are giant city sort of sized spaceships, like they're fortress monasteries in a way. And then you have Corsairs, which are pirate Eldar, just flying around in spaceships doing pirate stuff because they can and they want to. The destruction of the Eldar homeworld and the birth of Slaanesh coincides with the sort of like calming of a whole load of warp storms that were going on. And when that happened, the Emperor and all of his people went, oh, we can suddenly like see through the warp and navigate it now. Let's go out and colonize the galaxy. And that started the great expansion and creation of the Imperium of Man.
And how do the Phoenix Lords, because there's a whole, I've been flicking through the book casually, and there's a whole section here about the 10 different Phoenix Lords, or is it more than 10 now?
The Eldar have a pantheon of gods, and these pantheon of gods mostly all died when Slaanesh was born. And they're sort of like treated as patrons of the aspects and styles of war in a way. The Eldar these days work by focusing what they're doing into a path, and they dedicate themselves to this job, so to speak, and it consumes them. And they can do this job for a while, and then they can move on and try something else, and that's an aspect warrior. Or they get stuck in this particular job, and they never want to change it, and they dedicate themselves and their life to it completely, and then they become the exarchs of the aspects, the sort of like the major specialists. And they're all like dedicating themselves to a particular aspect of warfare, which is an aspect of Khaine, the bloody-handed god. Khaine Khaine is the god of war for the Eldar. Khaine died, and he was scattered across the galaxy into little bits, and those bits come together and are brought to life in the avatar of Khaine when they murder a bunch of Eldar princes or something like that in order to bring an avatar of Khaine to life for a time.
You have the whole young king scenario.
Of course, the young king. Yeah, that's right. Which is also embodied in one of the detachments that's in this book, and it embodied very, very well. The Aspect Shrine detachment focuses very heavily on making the most out of Aspect Warriors and the Avatar of Khaine, and does so really well. The Dire Avengers are the basic bog standard soldiers. They have guns, they walk around, they shoot stuff, they claim objectives, they don't do anything else other than that, but they do that really, really well. Howling Banshees scream and charge and rip people apart in melee combat. Swooping Hawks are the fast and mobile death from above, dropping bombs and grenades on you and shooting you with stuff.
And each one of these has like a set character / Phoenix Lord that leads them, correct?
So the story of the Phoenix
not all of them are in lore and game. Sorry, not all of them are in game.
The story of the Phoenix Lords is that they were the characters who originally created that Aspect Shrine way back when the Aspects were originally formed. But the Eldar themselves died, but because all of their tech is sort of like psychic based, and they have spirit stones into which their soul can go into and reside so that Slaanesh doesn't eat it, the suit of armor that the Phoenix Lord wears becomes the Phoenix Lord. And when a new Eldar finds the armor and puts it on, their personality and character becomes completely subsumed by the armor, and the psychic personality stored within the armor takes it over, and you just basically become a meat puppet who's puppeted by the armor that they're making move and happen and do stuff.
Cool.
So that's how they justify Phoenix Lords being discovered and going out and coming in every now and then. Fire dragons are all about burning stuff and killing things and reducing fortifications and all that sort of stuff. They carry melter guns as a habit.
Yeah, are they actually called melter guns? Or are they called fusion guns? Is that what they're called?
Yeah,
but they are melter, essentially.
Yeah, they use the melter.
They were melter guns for years.
Oh, and they changed them to keep it a bit unique. Okay.
And from Meltagons.
Warp spiders are one of the newer aspects, at least as far as this goes. They're not one of the original set of aspects that were done when Workshop first created aspects and the Eldar. They have little sort of like jump packs on their back, but their jump packs don't take them up and over. They jump and like skip through the warp like you would do if you were skipping a piece of stone across the water. They skip through the warp and then come out the other side. Which is why they often, or at least occasionally, die when they do so, because the warp is dangerous.
See, I remember this from like 20 years ago, that they had a weapon that, it says, is it the Death Spinner, that shoots out a long thread of monofilament wire? I remember in the old lore, they said it was so thin that it would go through people's armor and then like mince them from the inside.
Yeah, like a Harlequin has a similar weapon called a Harlequin's Kiss, which has monofilament wire that they punch you with, and it disgorges all the monofilament wire inside your armor and just melches you. These days, it's basically a flamer, but instead of shooting gouts of fire out, it's gouts of monofilament wire out that does much the same sort of thing.
Cool. Next up is Dark Reapers.
Dark Reapers all carry missile launchers. They are long-range warfare, death from afar. That's basically what they do. They shoot you a lot when you die. Striking Scorpions are the sneaky scouts. They sneak through the shadows and foliage and come at you and kill you from unsuspectingness. Karandras has a little bit of special lore to him in that he's not the initial Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpions. He's the second one. And the fate of the first one is not confirmed, but the accepted lore is that he went, screw all this, I'm off, became a Dark Eldar, a Drakari, and calls himself Drazar. And that was the first Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpion, supposedly. Which is one of the reasons why, if you buy that model these days, he comes with a little aspect shrine that looks an awful lot like the Scorpion's aspect shrine.
Cool. And then we get into...
Yeah. Shining Spears are your cavalry. They're jet bikes. They carry lances. They zoom across the battlefield and hit you in the face with a laser lance.
Sorry.
Yep.
What's that?
No worries.
You can keep going, but
certainly. And Crimson Hunters are the aspects who are focused on jet fighters and so forth. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's the missing one? What's the name of the missing aspect warriors?
So the Shadow Spectres are the Forge World aspect. They float around like ghosts insubstantially, or at least they look like it. And they have next to no sort of like melee capability, but they carry miniature prism rifles that can either shoot a focused blast of power or do sort of like a wider blast that will hit more things. And
so have they now gone Legends, or are they still around?
Yeah, they've been fully squatted. They're in the Legends rules. Unfortunately, just like Karandras, because he doesn't have a new model.
At least it's in the book.
Yeah, he's still featured as a notable point of lore at the very, very least.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Shining Spears.
It's quite cool with the old Drazar connection. They've been sort of hinting at that since Drazar first come into the book. So because when he came out, that would have been the original. I'm pretty sure he's one of the original special characters for Dark Eldar in the first sort of third edition book.
Yeah. Going back, he dates back to when all the Phoenix Lords were new lore, and when they started to bring them out and give them models and show them off. You can tell because he's a very sort of two-dimensional model, just like the original Zerman was.
Yeah,
and Jane Zara and so forth.
But they did a new model for him more recently, and it's very nice. But the original, he's one of the classics in there, and they've sort of hinted at his origins a few times.
They've never come out and said that the original Phoenix Lord is Drazar, but they've all said it.
To be honest, it was really 8th when they started to really push the idea of Aeldari being a more unified thing, and it's when you got Inari in there.
Yeah.
And they started to have a bit more of a crossover because they sort of broke them apart during 3rd edition with the introduction of the Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
And they hated each other, and then over time they've slowly stopped hating each other quite so much.
Yeah, Inari didn't exist as a thing until the whole Primaris came along, and they brought Genneman back, and they made the Inari be a big part of all of that storyline at the time. Ynnari are a subfaction of Eldar who focus on the Iliad, or the Eldar god of death, and the idea is enough Eldar die and feed themselves to the Eldar god of death, he will awaken and be powerful enough to kick Slaanesh in the nuts and defeat it and get all the Eldar souls back that Slaanesh has eaten, and then it'll come back to life again. But don't worry, it'll be fine.
It's one about a crazy Eldar death cult, but
Basically.
it crosses over between Eldar and Dark Eldar.
Indeed. And Harlequins, and Corsairs, and all of them. It's like a unifying thing.
Because they're in this book as well, aren't they?
Yes. So there are rules
Shall
in
we
this
continue?
book.
Sorry.
Yeah. There are rules in this book for a basic craft world army in several flavors of detachment, a Ynnari-focused Eldar army, a Harlequin-focused Eldar army, and that's what you get. So there are actually Dark Eldar data sheets in this book in order to go into the Ynnari army, so that you don't need to own 2 codices in order to be able to do it, which is nice.
I feel like there's some amount of lore in this book, compared to like the Space Marine Codex.
So much stuff has been written about Eldar.
They're one of the original factions, aren't they? They are the original Xenos alongside Orcs.
There's not a lot of them in terms of Black Library fiction. The amount of stuff for them is minuscule compared to the stuff that there is on Space Marines and Imperium. But they've been a fan favourite for 40 years now, at least.
Oh, yeah. Since their initial kind of
35,
introduction.
30, 40 years, yeah, exactly.
Second edition, really. I think there might be some in Rogue Trader. I can't remember if they're in Rogue Trader or not.
I'm fairly sure that there are Eldar Guardians in Rogue Trader, yeah.
Well, I've got the book, so I'm going to go and have a look. So stay there, I'm going to check.
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say there was some Eldar in Eldar Attack was an expansion for Space Crusade.
Yep.
Many years ago. And Space Crusade predates 40k completely, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think it's the same sort of time as when it was kicking off. Because they used a lot of the whole Space Marine and Chaos Dreadnought stuff in Space Crusade, as was in the original Rogue Trader and 40k stuff.
Okay. I thought Space Crusade was maybe slightly before.
I might be mistaken. If I'm wrong, tell us in the comments, because my memory of that period are a little bit...
I have the video game.
Yeah, when's that dated?
1995.
All right, so I got into the hobby around 1991, so that would have been a few years later on.
Yeah, I think I got in 94, and that was second edition, right?
Yeah, it's the same sort of time for me, about 94. Although, to be honest, back in second edition, I really wasn't a big 40k guy. I was much more in fantasy.
See, the first game I mainly got into was Epic, but...
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what we got?
Oh, it's gorgeous stuff. So these days, the difference between the craft worlds is basically academic. It's the same thing as Space Marine chapters. The pretty colours are pretty colours, but only have any effect on in-game rules if you want them to. Traditionally, the red craft world has been all about speed and jet bikes. They're called Same Hand.
Red ones go faster, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The white and green ones are, I think, BL Tan.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
I think they're all focused on Wraithy type stuff. The blue ones with the yellow helmets are the Alatok craft world. They're traditionally the more sort of sneaky, subtle Raven Guardy style ones, in a way, if you want to think of them like that. Yellow are Iandan, if I recall correctly. Yep. I don't recall what's particularly special about them, except they're bright yellow and therefore bastards to paint.
No, they're dead. They're mostly dead.
Oh, they're all the Wraithy ones, are they? Okay.
They're the Wraithy ones, yeah.
BL Tan might be the aspecty focused one then in that case.
BL Tan are the green ones, aren't they?
Yeah. Yes. That model there is the Incarn, and it was very carefully and cleverly designed, I thought, to look halfway between an Eldar god and a Slaaneshi demon, because obviously Slaanesh was birthed by the Eldar, so the relation makes an awful lot of sense.
Very nice. She's a nightmare to play against. We'll check on her rules.
She's a lot less bullshit now than she was.
Okay.
But yeah, she's still difficult. The Harlequins are weird and twisty secret keepers of the Black Library itself, which is a location maintained by them inside the webway that holds all sort of like books and secrets of the universe and so forth. That is the named Farseer leader, Eldrad Ulthran, who is like the greatest Eldar Farseer of all time, the oldest one, sees the most and the best, and is busy turning to stone, and died and got retconned.
Oh, I've got some good stuff in here that I completely forgot about was a thing.
Yeah?
So, yes, Eldar are in here.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Your late colours.
But listen to this. This wouldn't be in there anymore. Of all the galaxy's ancient races, the Eldar most closely resemble mankind, averaging just over 2 meters. They're a little taller than humans, more slightly built, more delicately featured. In human terms, most Eldar are radiantly beautiful. Skin color is pale, in some cases almost white. Their ears are delicately pointed, but otherwise there is little physical difference between Eldar and humans. Indeed, the two races are genetically so close that it is even possible for them to interbreed. I've lost a bigger player, but not unheard of, combining the physical appearance and mental attributes of both races.
One of the original Rogue Trader era librarian models was labelled as a half Eldar, half human Space Marine librarian.
The most commonly held of which is that the two share a common ancestor. The truth will probably never be known. And of course, because this was really an RPG rather than a wargame. Yeah. And it's got rules in here for being a half Eldar wizard and things like that.
Cool. So you see all up here on the page the Swooping Hawks, the Striking Scorpions, the Warp Spiders, the Dark Reapers, the Dire Avengers, the Fire Dragons, and the Howling Banshees. That's the full coverage, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Reapers used to be really, really good, so they suffered hard from the nerf stick in 9th and were a joke. Now they've come back round and they're good again in this book.
Oh, are they?
They were the equivalent of AP3, so they used to cut through Space Marine armor with no saves.
Yeah. Now
I used to have this guy in his metal model many, many years ago.
The new one is gorgeous. He's such a big, beautiful model. He's so impressive.
Well, all I remember from this model is super glue in the 90s would not stick those damn wings to his back for any length of time. They must have fallen off on a weekly basis.
You so had to pin him, and making him stand up was awful as well. The metal would just bend so easily. It was awful.
Cool. So I actually know nothing about the Combat Patrol.
Okay. Well, the Combat Patrol is 10 Dire Avengers, or 2 lots of 5 Dire Avengers, 5 Warp Spiders, 5 Wraith Blades or Guard, or however you want to build them, and a Spirit Seer. A Spirit Seer is a kind of Eldar Psyker. Eldar are known for being psychically active. A lot of the stuff they do is psychic heavy. A Spirit Seer is a kind of Psyker who works very, very closely with Wraith units. Wraith units are constructs made out of Wraith bone that have had an Eldar Spirit Soul gem implanted into them to bring their people back to life after they've died, sort of. But because they're basically dead and their soul's strapped in a gem, they don't see very well, they don't hear very well, so the presence of a Spirit Seer Psyker nearby them helps them to focus on the material world and interact with it.
They used to suffer from stupidity, which I always thought was quite funny. Yeah. It wasn't because they were stupid, it was just because they were so vague that trying to get them to do what you were supposed to try and do was a problem.
It's like plugging a ghost into a robot and the ghost goes, huh? What?
Is that not just like a dreadnought? Am I missing something?
They're like mini dreadnoughts in a way.
Well, go back far enough, and the Wraith Lord, which is just a big one, was called the Eldar Dreadnought for many editions.
Absolutely.
Oh, right.
So when you see a Wraith Lord, it's comparable in sort of scale to a Dreadnought. You're absolutely right.
Painting your Combat Patrol. I don't remember ever seeing a painting guide inside the Space Marine one, but maybe I missed. Maybe I just flipped past it.
Is there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seriously, did you not just like skip through everything?
I must have just skipped and just gone straight to the data sheets of the Space Marine one. Sorry.
Right, nobody cares about the rules specifically for the weird Crusade built-in cards for the Combat Patrol.
Yeah.
Okay. So
they're all well and good, but
if you're playing,
so
I think some people do.
A warning before we start on the rules themselves proper. If we go through all the rules, then there's a good chance that, like the Art of War video that went through all the rules, theirs was 4 hours long.
Okay, so we'll do an addended
I'm
rules.
going grey already.
Yeah, I've got no colour left at all.
Tell me the important bits.
Sorry, I interrupted you. You're going to say something, John.
No, I was going to say I've got no. I'll be grey if we spend 4 hours on this.
No
Or
worries.
I'll be white. I'll be Santa Claus.
So what's the army rule then, John?
Well, that's a good point. We could start there. If your army is Azurni, don't even know how to say that.
Azuriani.
Azuriani, thank you. At the start of the battle round, you receive a number of battle-focused tokens based on the battle size. So I guess if you're playing 2,000 points, you are getting 4 battle-focused tokens.
Yep, that's every round. So you get 4 every round.
And then each time one of the triggers shown in the agile maneuver section below occurs, you can spend 1 battle-focused token to enable the relevant eligible unit to perform an agile maneuver.
Yep.
If a unit is eligible to perform an agile maneuver, it has this ability. The ability. It has not performed an agile maneuver in the same phase. Unless otherwise stated, you cannot trigger the same agile maneuver more than once per phase, and at the end of the battle round, all unspent battle-focused tokens are lost.
So first off, if you like simple armies that don't require a lot of mental load and paying attention of juggling of a gazillion different rules, this is not the army for you. Because that is everything this army is. There's so many different synergies and rules to remember and abilities that they can do all over the place that it is crazy for it. Because what this basically is this is another set of 4 mini stratagems powered by not CP, of which you get 4 of these not CP every turn to power these not stratagems.
So this has completely replaced Fate Dice?
Yes. Fate Dice, a mechanic by the name of Fate Dice does still exist. It is an attachment to one of the detachments, and it's nothing like what Fate Dice used to be in 9th edition or previously. But Fate Dice as a mechanic are on the whole gone.
Good, because it was a terrible mechanic
that led to a vast amount of rules abuses and the most broken race knight in existence ever. And then the most broken avatar ever. It was horrible.
So I'm very pleased to see the end of those guys.
Yeah. And these 6 powers, they're all movement focused. They're all really, really good. One of them says, ha ha ha, you can't overwatch me this turn.
Yeah, so reading this whole section again, which I really think could have just been 3 bullet points, it is you could do an agile maneuver if you do the trigger. The trigger example is an eligible unit from your army is selected to fight. You can only do an agile maneuver on a unit once, and you can only do the same one once per phase. That's basically what that whole thing says.
Except for the one that says you can do it more often. Yeah. Swift as a Wind says you can trigger it multiple times each phase, but only once on each unit per phase. Okay.
So your triggers are normal move, advanced move, fallback. You can get 2 extra inches of movement. Again, normal move, advanced move, fallback. You cannot be overwatched. Eligible vehicle from your army makes a normal move. You can add D6 plus 1 to the move.
Yep.
When your unit fights, you can pile in or consolidate 6 instead of 3. You would have to choose one of those. Each time a model in the unit piles in or consolidate move, or it's both. I guess it's both.
Both. Yeah.
Cool. 6
Until
inch
the end
pile
of
in,
the phase,
6 inch
each time
consolidate.
you do it, you get to pile in or consolidate 6. Yeah.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
When an enemy unit ends a fallback move, one unit of your army, excluding Titanic, that started this phase with engagement range of the enemy unit can make a normal move of D6 plus 1. So if the enemy tries...
an enemy unit falls back out of combat with you, you can go doodles or just follow them. Whichever. Yeah, great.
Jump back onto the objective, jump behind the wall so they can't shoot you, or just chase after them.
Yep.
Which Blood Angels or something like that. And fade back. In your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit is shot, one eligible unit from your army that was hit by one of those attacks can make a normal move. Plus 1. D6 plus 1.
Yeah.
I think this is better than the old one, because the old you target me, I run away and you can't shoot me anymore was just fucking infuriating to play against.
It was quite annoying, yes.
There's a lot of it. There's also a lot, spoiler alert, of getting back into transports and stuff as well that can synergize with this.
Yeah, I didn't realise...
abilities in here.
actually, until this week, if you have a reactive move that says you are making a normal move, you can end your normal move within 3 inches of a transport and jump inside the transport, because that is a normal move.
Exactly right. So fade back can do that. You're absolutely right.
So you jump out the transport and you return.
At least once before they can do that.
Yes.
Yep.
But still, it's still. But also, if you fall back from in combat, so if they jump out the transport, charge you, and then you go, oh no, I don't want to be charged, and fall back, they could then move back and jump inside the transport again, correct?
Yep.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like it.
Which is great because Eldar as glass cannons shoot and hit fairly hard, but their bodies are toughness 3 and generally quite weak.
Yes.
So they make good use of being able to do that out of Falcon Grav tanks and Wave Serpents, which are their dedicated transports and really good.
It does sound like quite hard, though, to manage CP and manage this as well, and then manage your detachment rules.
So you're getting four a day. That's four a day. Four a go. That's a decent amount. You can do a lot of that each turn.
And you realistically want to save 2 or at least one of them for the opponent's turn to be able to threaten fade back with.
Yeah.
And of course, there's going to be enhancements and abilities and stuff that give more battle focus points as well, or make you able to not use it or something.
Opportunity seized could be crazy though, right? Like you've got Avatar. I actually don't know if the Avatar is Titanic. I can't imagine he is, right?
The Avatar is not Titanic. The only Titanic unit in this is the Wraith Knight.
The Wraith Knight, yeah. So the you're in combat with Avatar. You want to move away from him. The second you move away from him, he just follows you. If you want to charge something else, he's like, haha, now I'm in heroic intervention range. That's actually pretty scary.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you want to do then? How do you want to do this? Do you want to look at some specific detachments? Do you want to look at some specific units?
There are 4 detachments that are generally pretty good, and the rest of them are, all right.
Okay.
War Host is the sort of the average standard detachment, and the basic benefits for it are you get an additional battle focus token every round. The stratagems that it has are all generally very, very good, and it makes your army better at doing everything that it does. It is inherently a very powerful detachment. The second one that's also really, really good is the Aspect Shrine detachment, which buffs and boosts your Aspect warriors in all sorts of nasty and lovely ways. There is a detachment that makes jet bikes battle line. That's pretty tasty.
There's bloody loads of detachments in this book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like 7 or so. Oh, plus the Grots one as well, which is focused on vehicles. Windrider Host is the one that makes jet bikes into battle line.
Yeah, cool.
The next one along makes Wraith units into battle line. The Wraith Guard and the Wraith Blade.
Very nice.
Which is
they're toughness 7 these days, right?
I think they're down to 6 if I recall correctly.
Okay.
But still, battle line and nastiness is very, very good for them. The Guardian Battle Host, if you go along, it's got some good stuff, but unfortunately, it's all focused around buffing Guardians who are shit.
So Guardians are still. What? Just want to check this. So, what kind of baseline infantry is it? Guardians, or is it the aspect? Not an aspect warrior, if you know what I mean.
The baseline infantry that by default is battle line is a Guardian squad, be they Guardian Defenders or Stalk Guardians.
Yeah.
And they
so
are toughness 3.
Battle line or not?
No. Generally, no, they're not. They're like elite Guardians in a way.
What about Rangers?
Rangers are not battle line. They're scouts role focused essentially.
Because we've been for a few editions where Guardians have basically been completely pointless. You'd never bring them because your actual basic infantry has been Dire Avengers or one edition Rangers.
So Guardians are battle line by default. They're the only things that are battle lined by default, but they are just generally a bit shit. So don't bother. Just bring other things.
You probably wouldn't bring them even though they are the only battle line thing.
Unfortunately, yes. The next detachment over is all focused on Harlequins. Normally, an Eldar army can only include one of each Harlequin character, like a Death Jester or whatever. But if you take a Harlequin army, you can include 3 of them, and it buffs them up into being real tricksy bastards who can dance in and around all over the place and generally annoy you. which is exactly what Harlequins should do. The next detachment over is all Ynnari focused. That allows you to bring Drakari alongside normal Eldar. You can't bring an Avatar of Khaine, I think, but you can bring the Incarn instead, and the Incarn's mates and buddies. And it's all a bit sort of... They've gone away from being the horrible, overpowered mess that the Ynnari have been in some previous incarnations, and they're currently just a little bit below the par of the others I've mentioned.
Is there a way of doing that horrible combo of bringing the Incarn and the Avatar anymore, or is it one or the other?
That is now not something that is allowed.
Good.
Next one is Seer Council, which is all focused in and around Psykers, Farseers, and Warlocks and what. This is where the Strands of Fate or Fate Dice mechanic exists. It's nowhere near the same that it used to be. Nowadays, the Fate Dice mechanic is basically reducing the cost of stratagems. They're like free CP, but only for certain stratagems, depending on what you roll on the Fate Dice that you've got. So it could give you it will give you like 6 extra CP, but restricted on what stratagems you can spend them on. And that will change from game to game, and they might not be the ones you want. Maybe 2 or 3 of them might be the ones you want. So that is pretty crap, really. And the next one along is one of the other best ones alongside the main war host, which is the Aspect Host. And I'll let John just read what the core detachment rule is on these, because they're just simple and really powerful.
So, Aspect Warriors or the Avatar of Khaine from your army selected to shoot or fight. Select one of the following abilities and against the end of the phase. Each time the model makes an attack, reroll hits. Each time the model makes an attack, reroll wounds of 1 both times.
And this is every time you attack.
Yeah, so if you've got a crap load of...
You have to choose situationally if you want to reroll hit rolls 1 or wound rolls 1.
That's pretty good, really.
Yeah. And some of the enhancements are very good. The stratagems, some of them are insane. For example, there's one on the stratagem page there called Preternatural Precision, which is crazy in what it does.
Each time, use the stratagem on Aspect Warriors in your shooting phase. Each time you use the stratagem, you can remove 1 Aspect Shrine token your unit has. Then select one of the following abilities, or select 2 of the abilities if you removed an Aspect Shrine token during this usage. You can ignore cover, you can get lethal hits, you can get sustained 1 until the end of the phase. Range weapons equipped have the selected abilities.
Now, an Aspect Shrine token, every Aspect Warrior unit, except Shining Spears and Crimson Hunters, comes with a little Aspect Shrine tokeny thingy on the sprue with it.
Yep.
And you get 1 Aspect Shrine token for every 5 models in the unit. For free. You just get them. And you can either use it to power these stratagems, or the data sheets for the Aspect Warriors say, spend an Aspect Shrine token to turn a dice on a hit roll or a wound roll into an unmodified roll of 6. Just gone.
And that's a once per game ability. It's not a...
Yes.
Once the Shrine token is spent, it's gone. Yeah.
It's like Cherubs and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Cool.
And when you combo things like that Preternatural Precision that gives out ignores cover and lethal hits and sustained hits and whatnot, with the ability to create a natural 6, and also Lycus, the brand new Warp Spider Phoenix Lord, says if you shoot at something I've shot at, you now crit on 5s, you can build up some disgusting combos.
So 8 detachments. It's a good number.
Yeah. And it covers a lot of flavour of Eldar.
So I've always fancied going... I love the idea of painting the Aspect Warriors, but if I was going to choose one, it'd have to go down the Iandan Wraith construct. I just think it's so cool.
So the way their detachment now works for Wraith stuff is it's kind of like Tech Marines and vehicles in Space Marines. The Spirit Seers have a 12-inch aura around them, and Wraith units within that aura get to hit on 3s and benefit from all their various leadership buffs and other buffs that they can give with enhancements and whatnot. And while they're near a Wraith unit, they get loan up. So similar sort of system to that. Yeah. And a 12-inch bubble radius is a lot of the table.
Yeah, because you wouldn't just bring one.
No,
for somebody to vindicare it. It'd be an actual use for a vindicare.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, I like this art. Is this new?
No, that was 3rd edition.
Is
Yeah.
it?
I think it was 3rd edition, wasn't it?
That's banging. I want that on my wall.
But Eldar might have been 4th or 5th.
Third or fourth, yeah.
I've been 4th.
Because my favourite edition or artwork at least was the one on this picture just down here. I
Second.
think I've shown off before, yeah.
Is that the Swooping Hawk?
That was the highest selling ever price piece of art. Warhammer
I'm just going
art
to take
ever
my
sold.
headset off for a second.
Yeah. Was it? Was it like auction or something?
It did, yeah. I'm trying to remember the actual number. I'm going to find out because it was a
Yeah.
bananas number.
Oh, yeah, it was Swooping Hawks. Yeah.
It's a fantastic. So here we go. Yeah, it sold for. Oh God, I've accidentally ended up on Spiky Bit.
I think it was like 60,000, was it? Or am I completely wrong?
$1,000. It sold for that piece of art.
Yeah, with the actual original painted art by the artist that was all.
The highest
Very good.
selling piece of art ever
for Warhammer stuff. Yeah.
So, Avatar of Khaine. Broken or balanced?
Much more balanced than he previously was because he used to be fucking stupid.
Just
He
because
has
you
also
could-
gone down in points, but he is now less fucking stupid than he was.
I don't
before
mind him
it
having
came out.
daft damage output. It was the fact that he had daft damage output and was nigh on unkillable before. That was
Yeah, because with the fate dice, you just stacked him on the sustained hits and lethal hits, and he'd do horrific amounts of huge stuff.
He still looks pretty tasty.
Oh,
6
yeah.
attacks at strength 16, AP 4, D6 plus 2. That's a Terminator killer if I ever saw one. And his spear
That's
is...
anything killer. That is.
Halves incoming
Yeah.
damage, toughness 11, 2 up for it.
Yeah, he's nice.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Do you remember when he used to have that rule that he was immune to melter weapons?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Because molten. So what's a melter gun going to do?
Yep. And while a friendly Aeldari unit is within 6 inches of him, which is of course includes himself as well, add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for that unit.
Is there any detachment that lets Eldar advance and charge in this book?
As a general rule, no. But the ones that want to tend to be able to.
Okay.
For example, Banshees can do that anyway.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Banshees now. Banshees are badass.
I want to see Banshees. I used to...
Right, skip on the Banshees.
I hated fighting against Banshees when they had fight first. I assume they still have fight first.
Not
Or no, do you know what? They
sure.
used to have... I think it was fight last, actually, wasn't it? It was like when they
Oh,
charged
they,
you...
they
you-
screamed at you, yeah. And
you
debuffed you.
and Jane Czar is the Banshee leader, right?
Jane Czar is the Banshee Phoenix Lord. That's correct, yes.
So she is in melee.
Have a look at
attacks.
the rules of the actual Banshees themselves first,
first,
because then
and
you'll
look on-
get a grasp on what she does to them
All right.
and how her buff affects
Here we go. So Banshees come in squads of 5 or 10. The
and
Exarch.
one of those will be an Exarch, yep.
Yeah. I actually don't know how the Exarch is. With Howlbound Exarchs can be replaced with 2 mirror swords. So mirror swords can be replaced with 1 mirror swords. Anti-infantry 3 up. -2/2.
So all of their melee weapons are now anti-infantry 3.
Oh wow, okay.
Every single one. They've got a movement of 8. They can naturally advance or fall back and charge.
Yep. Fall back and charge. Once per battle, for each Aspect Shrine token in this unit, you can change the result of 1 hit or wound into a 6.
Yep. Which is the general Aspect Shrine token rule that they all have that I mentioned.
Yep.
So they can move 8, they can advance and charge, and their basic Banshee blades, they have 2 attacks, hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s if you're an infantry, 2 AP, 2 damage.
It's pretty good. How many points is a squad of Banshees? Are the points right in this book as of printing?
The
Or
points in this book are not right, they've since been supplanted.
No. Why do they even
So,
print points in these books?
Well, for people who don't have the internet, I suppose, although it's a bit redundant, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I was talking to someone about this the other day, and towards the end of 9th, I started playing with buddies and that with pure book rules.
Oh, really?
We ditched all the, apart from like obvious, erratas,
Yeah.
but all of the kind of balance changes and that we binned. And we just played it book rules, book points. And we found actually they were really balanced.
Against
Because
each
the
other.
problem with ninth was everything kept getting power creeping all to the moon.
Yeah.
What was happening was that all the books that were stupid power creep daft books, well, there was always another power creep daft book later on that kind of balanced it off anyway.
Yeah, to try and incentivize sales.
Yeah, so actually, when you played them all book against book, they were quite balanced towards each other, and it wouldn't surprise me if 10th ended up in a similar position.
Well, that's kind of neat that the Banshees have toughness 4 in melee. I've never seen that before.
Oh, cool.
No, that is new. Yeah, I'm not seeing that.
They are 90 points for 5 or 180 for 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the basics of what a Banshee unit is.
They are going to kill the crap out of your infantry, aren't they?
Yeah, if you want to flip now back and look at Jane'Zar and see what she does to buff her unit of Banshees.
Okay, so when she is leading a unit, do not make an advance roll, move 6 instead.
So, they've got a base move of 8, they advance 6,
Yep.
and they can charge.
And they ignore any vertical distance when determining the total distance of the model has moved during that move.
And they're infantry, so they can just walk through walls.
And each time she attacks a character unit, she can reroll her wounds. She is also anti-infantry 3 up. She has AP 3, she has 2 damage, and I guess with precision rerolling wounds against characters, she's going to pretty much blind any Space Marine.
Twos, and all aspect units, assuming that you're using the aspect shrine detachment, get to choose if they want to either reroll ones or reroll ones to hit or reroll ones to wound.
Yes.
So you assume you're going to reroll ones to hit with this unit. So Jane'Zar's never going to miss, and Banshee's never going to miss because they both hit on 2s normally.
Oh, I didn't realise they had ballistic skill. Weapon skill 2. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, they're going to be very good at killing infantry. They don't kill much else.
But that's the Eldar way. Each aspect is specialised to kill a thing perfectly, and that's the whole point of them. They're supposed to use the right tool for the right job.
They're like samurai in a way. Their entire life is spent training and dedicating to this one specific thing, which they become exemplars of.
Cool. So who else should we look at?
Who else do you want to look at? Do you want to look at? I mean, Lycus is the brand new Phoenix Lord.
Yeah, let's look at him because I don't know much.
Have a look at the Warp Spiders first. And Lycus. Yeah.
Okay. So Warp Spiders still have a flicker jump. So each time this unit is selected to make a normal move, you can use this ability. If it does until the end of the phase, you're not able to declare a charge, but your move characteristic doubles from 12, which is actually pretty good anyway, to 24. But if you do flicker jump, at the end of the phase, roll a d6 for each model in the unit. Each one is a mortal wound. That's been changed. I think you used to only roll 1d6.
It is now a lot more dangerous than it was. So it's now you need to decide if you want to move 24 or not.
Yeah.
Is it worth the risk?
Cool. And they are a ranged unit. So they what do they typically arm up with?
By default, they're a ranged unit. So they come with a Death Spinner.
Yep.
And the Exarch, by default, has an Exarch Death Spinner.
Which is like a double Death Spinner, isn't it?
Yeah, but the Exarch has extra arms, and so they can be armed with different things. They can have a normal Exarch Death Spinner, they can have a long-range Death Spinner rifle, and a couple of little piddly Death Spinners, or they can have some like little blades, power blades in their arms, and mini Death Spinners, or a set of 4 power blades for a bit of melee punch.
Cool. Power Blade Array, 10 attacks. Basically 10 Power Sword attacks. Strength 4, -2, 1 damage. Twin linked as well. Lethal hits as well.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
That one person is carrying 4 Power Blades and has 10 attacks. So they put out a lot of mulch if you want to...
Well, he puts out a lot of mulch. The rest of us don't do shit.
But he can't charge if you do your flicker jump. So maybe that's less important. But the Death Spinners themselves are 12-inch range, D6 hits, torrent, so they automatically hit. They ignore cover. Strength 4, -1, 1 damage. The Exarch's one is the same, but it's strength 6.
-2.
-2, 1 damage.
Question. Are these real arms he's grown, or are these robotic arms they've given him?
So the bottom 2 are little robotic arms that come out of the bottom of the warp spider jump carapace.
Okay. All right, so
and the other warp spiders do have them, but they're holding up the big Death Spinner gun.
I see. So these warp spiders get led by the new Phoenix Lord, the one that was showing off at the start of the stream. This guy. So
when this
model is
that
leading
is a female, as I understand it. Jane Zar's female. Lycus is also female.
Cool. While this model is in the unit, that unit is eligible to declare a charge after the flicker jump. That's pretty handy.
So let's say you've got a unit of 10 of them. You can have 9 of them with those little death spinners, 1 of them with a power sword array, and Lycus with its melee death. They can move 24 and then charge.
Nice.
And they get to shoot on the way in too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're not assault, yeah? You will take some mortal wounds. Statistically, what, you lose like 2 guys maybe?
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah. In your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit hit by 1 or more of those attacks until end of the turn. Each time a friendly Aeldari model makes an attack against that unit, score your crits on 5s. So like you said, if you can jump in, flame someone,
and then just have the rest of your army shoot at them while you charge someone else.
Correct.
Then you're critting on 5s against them for all sorts of horrible nastiness.
So is there anything nice in the Codex that's got like sustained or lethals that you could combo up with this?
Shall we take a look at Dire Avengers after this, shall we?
Shall we?
But before we do that, just have a quick look back at Lycus' melee profile.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Two weapons. One has extra hits, so basically you're fighting with both. Her main, yeah, I was going to say, she's female. 5 attacks. Weapon skill 2, 6 minus 2, 2 with lethals. And then extra attacks, it's 5 extra attacks, again with lethals. 4 minus 2, 1. So
a total of 20 attacks across 2 models from the squad if you're running that sort of build.
It's pretty nice. It's going to blend.
I don't think I would bother with it. I don't think it's really cheap.
How many points is she these days? Did you know? Did they change her from the book?
Probably.
No,
they didn't.
A squad of warp spiders, it doesn't matter if it's 5 or a 10, does it?
No.
From a melee point of view.
Lycus 120.
And what warp spiders?
90 for 5. Oh yeah, I better not show off my code. I haven't redeemed it in the app. Don't let me show off my code.
Warp spiders did take a nerf. They're now 95 points for 5. Ooh.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I think that's an okay price, but I don't think that I would spend 215 points for it as a melee unit.
No, but I would take it for something that could jump 24 inches across, shoot something, then charge it, blend it off the objective sat at home, and take it.
Maybe.
I think it could be cool.
Yeah, I think if I was looking for a melee unit, I'd go Howling Banshees over.
Yeah,
these
fair.
guys.
I think it's probably just the speed
like
of this, though, right?
But 20 attacks is not a lot for a melee unit.
Yeah, I think you're paying attacks here for the speed, right?
Oh, of course.
You're paying attacks here for the speed, but when you use that speed, you're probably going to lose a couple of models.
Guys. Yeah.
That's not going to affect your melee punch, but it is going to affect your firepower punch.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think personally, I'd be more tempted to take. I like their wolf spiders. I like their rules, but I'd be more tempted to take them without Lycus and use them as a teleporting shooting unit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
I think I'd get more benefit out of that than because that's a one-shot weapon. That.
Yeah, really. Okay.
So,
Dire Avengers.
Now the rest of the army all get mortal, devastating wounds or whatever. The critical hits.
There's a lot less devastating wounds, thankfully, than there was previously. Thank God.
So, go on, Dire Avengers.
They have assault on their ranged weapons these days, and if they're within half range rather than getting rapid fire, they get sustained 1. So that could be comboed nicely with those crits on 5s.
Yep.
And
then if you use the stratagem with them earlier, to give them either more sustained hits stacking on top of it, or lethal hits, or both if you spend an Aspect Shrine token. There, and then you combo that with the Lycus one, you start to see how the sort of the buffs all add up.
Yeah, you can kill a thing, like kill it dead.
The issue I always have with Dire Avengers, though, is they feel very weak when they get targeted.
What's the range? Because they still got shooting catapults, or?
Yeah, the shooting catapults are 18-inch range.
So they've got to be pretty close.
Yeah.
So if you were going to try and use that Lycus combo, you need to somehow get these guys within 9 inches for them to really pop off.
Yeah.
Then you need to get Lycus to run across the board and target it with some shooting.
Yeah.
I feel that's quite hard to do. I think you're right.
So
I think that'd be quite hard to do.
The combo there is you have your Dire Avengers inside a Wave Serpent, which has got a capacity of 12.
Yeah.
You have 10 of them with Azerman. You put the Wave Serpent forward, you disembark them, they shoot something, then they hop back into transport.
I mean, it's cool, but I with Tony, it could be quite hard to do. 9 inches is not a lot of breathing space there.
Yeah,
I think it'd be difficult to set up and quite expensive to set up. Would the killing you did on that one turn, because this is a one-turn wonder, get you the value of, because that whole combo is going to be what? Look at 230 points for the Warpy Spider things, another 100 points for a squad of Dire Avengers. You can want 10 of them, so the better part of 150 points or so, plus a Sermon. So we're looking at 200. So we're looking at 500 points on this combo so far, plus a Wave Serpent, 650 points. That you're probably going to kill one unit dead, and whatever Lycus charges will take 20 fairly chunky hits in melee, but not bananas hits in melee. Is that worth a third of your army?
Well, it depends on how strategic what you can pick up with them, right?
Yeah, really, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah.
And all these attacks, there's volume in them, but there's not really any punch in any of the things we've looked at so far.
The Triton Catapults, what are they? Strength 4, AP nothing.
AP 1 these days.
Oh, good point of AP. Look at that.
The punch comes from a newly beefed up unit of Fire Dragons.
Yep.
Yeah.
And these things give Eradicators a middle finger because you think you guys can do this well. Well, we're better at it.
So a Fire Dragon fusion gun is what? Strength 9, AB 4d6, 12 inches. In your shooting phase, each time a model in this unit makes a range attack that targets a monster or vehicle, you can reroll hits, you can reroll wounds, you can reroll damage. Melta range is Melta 3, but it's just 12, so you need to be within 6 inches to get the plus 3 damage.
And the Exarch Smelter gun has Melta 6.
Lovely.
If you can get them nice and close, they can do some bananas damage. Is that reroll hits, wounds, and damage, or
all of them?
So
all of them against monsters and vehicles.
Yeah.
So they're the ones you want inside your transports, though, because you want to protect them, and then you want to pop them out nice and close within 6, so they can get all that sweet melt bonus.
Absolutely. And then take a little look at what Fugan does. Their Phoenix Lord.
Does Fugan still revive himself?
Not well.
Yeah,
yes,
he does. Yeah,
not quite as well as previously. He's not as much of a beefcake as he was in melee previously.
Oh wow! Okay, so his leadership, he gets to add 6 inches to the range of melter weapons. Wow, does that affect himself?
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. So
those 12-inch range melter guns that the Fire Dragons have, while he's leading them, they become 18-inch range melter guns with melter 3.
And that's much more easy to get into nasty range.
Yeah.
What's his weapon? Has he got something nasty as well? Or
he's got Fire Pike,
which is bananas.
A narrow beam or a wide flaming beam.
Exarch one.
It's similar but a bit beefier. Strength
14, AP 4, Melta 6, D6 damage. So it'd be Melta 24 when he's leading the unit. So if you're within 12, he can potentially do 12 damage at Strength 14, AP 4. It is just one attack, though. But he does have Assault, so I guess if you ever need to advance him...
assuming you're targeting a monster or vehicle, he will reroll all of his hits and his wounds and his damage roll.
Yeah, which adds in a ton of reliability with strength 14.
So that sounds like something that I would be excited to bring. That's got some
Yeah.
serious in it. I wasn't that impressed with Lycus, but I'm fairly impressed with Fuegan.
The thing is, he doesn't even need, like, let's say you're shooting beasts or something that's not a monster and vehicle. You're still strength 14, AP 4, Malta 6. You know, like,
yeah,
and you've still got the extra range. You're still gonna potentially do a crap load of damage.
So even wounding on 5s with a reroll is not bad.
It's 55%.
And that's what the squad will be doing.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, you're right. But I just fought an Orc Stomper last night that was like toughness 14. Even this, he's like wounding that 75% of the time for 12 damage, which is bonkers. Cool. All right, so what other things do you like, Mark?
Just briefly there, I will say that even with those woundings on 5s of the reroll that you just mentioned, they do still have the Aspect Shrine rule. So they can spend an Aspect Shrine token to convert a hit roll or a wound roll into an unmodified 6.
Yeah, that's very good. When do you actually do that? After the roll?
Go and look at any of the Aspect Warriors data sheets.
Yeah, you can change it. So you roll your dice, you got 2 5s to wound, and then you just pick one of the ones that wasn't a 5 and you make it into 6.
Yes.
Because it says after the roll.
Ones that was a 1 and do it. Yeah, exactly.
How are Dark Reapers in this book?
Tastier. A lot tastier. Their Phoenix Lord is a bit toss, sadly, but Dark Reapers themselves are pretty good. Autarchs have now been changed so that they no longer lead crap units like Guardians and so forth. Autarchs now lead Aspect Warrior units. So there's a good case to be made taking a Autarch, giving him a Reaper launcher, sit him in the backfield with 5 or 10 Dark Reapers.
What's the Reaper stats these days?
I was going to say, so every model is equipped with a Reaper launcher. The Reaper launcher has basically strength 10, 2 damage, strength 10, AP 2, 3 damage, ignores cover. Or 2 shots, strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage, ignores cover. So it's kind of like better than a crack missile and better than a frag missile, I would say.
And there's 48-inch range on those guns as well.
The main Reaper can take a missile launcher, which gives it D6 damage and hits on 2s rather than hits on 3s.
And their ability is they ignore all modifiers to ballistic skill or all modifiers to hit roll if you want to.
So if you're in that detachment where they can reroll 1s, they could put out some significant punch, right?
Absolutely.
Not bad.
From literally the other side of the board with 48-inch range.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's look at some specialist stuff then. So what we look at, how are our Harlequins doing?
The most disgusting of the lot remains the Solitaire. The Solitaire is still pretty horrifying. The Death Jester was disgusting in 9th Ed. He's now no longer as sickening as he was because there used to be one Death Jester could do some horrible things with Fate Dice and Auto 6s, but that's now gone because Fate Dice is gone. But if you are running the Harlequin's detachment, you can run up to 3 Death Jesters and they can be fairly interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But the Solitaire will probably appeal to John and his Blood Angel Soul.
Yeah, tell me all. So he fights first. He's the lone operative. He's got stealth. Once we're battling your movement phase before this model makes a normal move, you can use his ability. If he does, until the end of the turn, add 2d6 to his movement of 12. Add 3 to his weapons characteristic. His weapon is 9 attacks. Precision. 2 up, 6, -2, 2. He's able to declare a charge in a turn which he moved. And yeah, he's kind of bonkers, right?
So that's once per game, 12 plus 2d6 move, plus an advance roll, plus the charge roll.
Basically, an Eversaur assassin.
He is what the Eversaur wants to be.
But with precision baked in as well. So 12 attacks hit on 2s, 6 minus 2, 2 precision. So he just jumps in.
So
Strength 6, minus
so
2.
he's another infantry murder bot.
Launcher. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've played against him before. I don't remember if it was 2d6 he got last edition, but he is so fast. He can make turn 1 charge basically on anything. Because he's moving 12 plus 4d6.
Is he expensive? Almost certainly die after that.
Yes, he will almost certainly die after. In the book, he was...
With toughness 3, 4 wounds, and a 4-up Invan save, and that's all, then yeah, he's very easy to kill. 115
points in the book. Maybe he's changed.
He is lone operative, but obviously that doesn't make much difference.
It's not going to help him when he's charged.
No.
Yeah.
Are D cannons still obnoxious? Because we flipped past the D cannons.
So they've split them all up now, thankfully. So those 3 support weapons that you're looking at, they're no longer constrained so that the shit ones have to be the same points cost as the really, really good ones, the D cannons. So Shadow Weaver platforms are dirt cheap, Vibra cannons are dirt cheap, D cannons are reasonably priced.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. They're not bad. They're not brilliant, but they're not bad.
So D cannons are still blast, devastating wounds, indirect fire, 2 attacks, BS3, which I guess when you fire indirect now was always nerfed to 4s because indirect fire can never hit on better than 4s anymore. Strength 16, minus 4, still D6 plus 2, which is a lot with the ignore cover, right? Oh, you don't have ignore cover anymore, or do you?
You can get it. You can get it through a synergy with other units. I think it's the Shroud Runners, which are then the new Scout jet bike, Ranger jet bike things from 9th edition. So if something gets hit by them, they get ignored covered for the rest of the turn. You're
probably going to get hit on 4s. You're probably going to get one reasonably punchy hit out of that a turn.
Yeah. So you get, if you shoot an indirect, yes, you probably hit 1 time, but it just basically evaporates anything because their other rule is if you roll a 1 on the damage, you re-roll. So typically this thing will always do 4 damage. Strength 16, so it's always going to wound on 2s probably. So 4 damage, wounding on 2s, AP 4, you're probably not saving most of the time.
No, because can you spam them, or are they 1 per unit of Guardians? You're not bringing many Guardians because they're rubbish.
You can take a maximum of 3 D cannons. Each unit is 1, so you can have 3 D cannon platforms in your army at most.
And they cost 110 points. You could have 3 D cannon
platforms. And 3 Shadow Weaver platforms and 3 Vibra Cannon platforms if you wanted.
If you really wanted to.
Yeah. You probably won't.
They do move 7 inches, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Because they can float, can't they?
They've also now got the infantry keyword, which they didn't have previously, so they can just move through
That's
a wall.
fine. Move through cover.
Yeah.
What are the wraiths like?
Page or 2 on, I think.
I think it's the next page or 2, yeah.
Here we go. Wraithguard or Wraithblade you want to see?
Wraithguard are the resilient shooty type. Wraithblades are the melee type.
Yeah, so the Wraithguard are all armed with Wraith cannons, which are a 1-shot, BS4 up, strength 14, AP4, D6 plus 1. So they're just a bit bonkers at single shot.
But if they're within 12 inches of a friendly Aeldari Psyker, they get +1 to hit.
So it's going to be like 5 melta shots almost equivalent, but high strength melta. And the Wraith Blades, which have both the Ghost Axe or Sword.
So you have Axe and Shield or a pair of swords.
Cool. The Shield gives you the 4-up Invan.
And they're toughness 6, 3 wounds, 2-up save.
Yeah, so they lost a point of toughness because they were T7, weren't they?
Yep.
They have terrible leadership, these guys, actually. Leadership 8.
Unless they're within 12 inches of an Eldar Psyker, in which case their leadership becomes 6-up.
Yeah. So if they're on their own, their leadership is actually tragic. The Wraith Blades get each time a model unit is destroyed by a melee attack. If it's not fought this phase, on a 3-up, it gets to fight on death. Which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
The Ghost Axes are good, like 3 attacks, strength 7, minus 2, 2, so...
But look at the swords as well, if you've got the Wraith Blades.
Then you go to 5 attacks?
Yep, so
strength
unit 5 of them will have
2.
25 attacks.
All right, every model can take the swords over the. So if you don't care about invuln saves and you think 2 up save with 6 toughness is fine, which it probably is. You can go for the swords and you can go 25 attacks. Strength 5 minus 2, 2. That's kind of like a squad of Blade Guard, honestly, at that point.
Yeah, it's not bad. And bear in mind, if you take the right detachment where these are wraiths, then they're battle line.
I never even thought of that.
Are they expensive? What's the points cost? Be careful, you keep flashing that code, John.
Do I? I'll have to redeem it before we put this live. Question,
Go on.
I don't often run Battle Line. Battle Line doesn't give you any bonus to your OC. Does it? No.
No, it's useful in the missions that you get from Pariah Nexus. Battle Line gives you bonuses for some of the things that you do.
Yeah, you can do like actions sometimes and still shoot or reserve them or whatnot.
Exactly.
Line, to be honest. I have been a big fan of heavy intercessors for Battle Line for a little while, but I don't like the changes they made to them. I feel like by buffing them up and increasing the points, they've actually made them less usable.
I think you're probably right, yeah.
Just cheap and tough.
So Wraith Blades are 170 for 5. There's no size manipulation. You have to take 5 of them. Wraith Guard, the shooty ones, are 170 for 5.
They are quite expensive.
The way that I've seen Wraith Guard played before was that they would take the D-Scythes, which used to be Strength 10 AP 4, 1 damage. So they've been nerfed pretty heavily. They are still D6 shots, they are still auto-hitting, but they are now Strength 7 AP 3, so it lost like 3 points of strength and 1 point of AP, which honestly I think I'm happy about, because those D-Scythes previously were an absolute terror against Space Marines.
Oh, yeah.
AP4 meant you got no save, Strength 10 meant they wound on 2s, and obviously with the auto-hitting, it was genuinely just very bad.
You can also put Wraith units in transports, and they count as 2 models for the purposes of fitting in a Wave Serpent or whatever, because they're bigger, like Terminators in a way.
So do they still have the Falchion transport with its turn 1 deep strike?
The Falcon Grav Tank does still exist. I think it does mostly what it did before, to be honest.
In your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one of these attacks until the end of the turn. Each time a friendly model that disembarked the transport this turn makes an attack against that target, you can reroll the wounds. So that's where like your synergy could be with those fire dragons not shooting monsters or vehicles. Well, here's another way to get full reroll wounds.
Or your Dire Avengers,
What's the transport capacity on Falcon?
6.
5 or 6? 6. 5 Aspect Warriors and an Autarch, generally speaking.
So you can't put the Wraith units in Falcons anymore?
No, you can only put them in a Wave Serpent.
Well, after 2 of them died, you could put them in there.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So they're going in a Wave Serpent?
Yep. And the Wave... excuse me. The Wave Serpent is dedicated transport. So you can have a whole bunch of them.
You have
is
a whole bunch
the Fire Prism still broken?
Is what, sorry?
The Fire Prism.
The Fire Prism is nowhere near as bullshit as it was before. It has suffered 2 key changes that make it less bullshit.
Go on.
One of them is that the rerolls it gets, it can only reroll 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll when it shoots. And now, when it does the passing fire through 1 fire prism to shoot out of another one, it doesn't pass all of its shots through. It can only ever pass 1 shot through.
That's probably better.
Yeah. So there's a lot of its firepower has been neutered from what it was previously.
I like the fact that the Night Spinner is in there, irrespective of the fact I don't think I've ever seen a Night Spinner.
The Night Spinner was pretty OP and busted for a while. Based out of the Index. It's now a lot less so.
Melted.
I genuinely don't think I've ever seen one, because it's the dual kit with the Fire Prism, and I've only ever seen people build Fire Prisms out of it.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, the Night Spinner's had occasions where it was positive and tasty. I think we should hold a moment out of respect for John being talked to.
Sorry.
That's right.
No, it's okay. Sorry for you. Okay. Sorry, kids. Michael's just woken up. That's all it is. It's fine.
No worries. Everything okay? Do you need a few moments?
No, we're fine. We're fine. Sorry,
Okay,
continue. Where were we?
data sheets that we particularly want to see. I assume Corsairs are still a bit shite.
Corsairs are dog shit, mainly because they were designed as a kill team unit and kit and have loads of different weapons, none of which have any synergy with each other, and they are basically dirt cheap bodies that don't really do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. What were the? I was trying to remember this because I don't play Eldar. They had a really cheap unit that you could pick up and put down every turn, basically scouts. What were they called?
Rangers?
No, not the Rangers, because the Rangers are like snipers. People always used to daisy chain them out, bring them up, put them down. Same mechanic as scouts.
The troops are Jedi's, yes.
Swooping Hawks are an aspect with wings that did that once upon a time. They now only do that, I think, if you have their Phoenix Lord with them, Baharoth.
Ah, right, okay. And the Incarn, what about her these days? Does she still jump every single time?
Go for it, have a read.
Once in each of your opponent's turn, if this model is on the battlefield when another friendly Aeldari unit is destroyed just after removing the last model from the unit, you can remove this model from the battlefield and set it up as close as possible to where that destroyed model was destroyed and not within engagement range of one or more enemy units. Each time this model destroys an enemy unit, it regains up to D3 wounds. So that's pretty good, and that's still pretty strong, right? So I think they changed that though, because it used to be every time you could move them. So now you can just do it once per turn.
And it's friendly units only.
Yeah. But I mean, she's still Blender, 5 attacks, strength 12, AP 4, D6 +1. She's regenerating every time she kills stuff, 2 up save, 10 wounds.
The regenerating health replaces half all damage, so she no longer has that ability.
That's what it was before, okay.
She's been quite toned down from where she was at points.
Very much so, yes.
Is the Vizark any good? I can't read it on the screen. I've always just thought it was a cool model, and it never seems to have any good rules to go with it.
That's about where it is, yeah, pretty much.
So this model, if it's leading a unit, goes fight first. If this model is leading a unit, other character models that you have attached to this unit have the Feel No Pain 4 up. It's a bit random.
Yeah, it is, but also look at what it can join.
So this model can be attached to Corsairs, which you said are rubbish, Guardians, Storm Guardians, Incubi, Kabalite Warriors, or Witches.
So a whole bunch of toughness 3 bodies with no resilience whatsoever.
Incubi aren't too bad.
Yes, they are. The Incubi in here are not great.
Well, then the book.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
You can
way.
Go near the end. They're called Ynnari Incubi, I think.
Yeah, here we go then. At the start of the fight phase, select an enemy unit with engagement range. They must take a battle shot test. They have every model equipped with a Clavey. A Clavey is 3 attacks, 4 -2, 2. So they don't have great damage output, but it's not the worst. They are just 1 wound each, except the X-Arch. 3 up save, 5 up invuln, toughness 3. Yeah, I mean...
No, they're not that good though. They used to be... I think it's because they've lost all the synergies they get from the Dark Elder Codex.
Exactly right. These are basic bog standard Drukhari, essentially.
Yeah.
I feel like they used to have more strength than 4, but maybe I'm wrong.
They used to be toughness. Yeah, I remember them as toughness and strength 4, yeah.
I just remember they used to kill an awful lot in melee, and they used to have, I guess, the enemy fights last, and now they just have a battle shock, which isn't the greatest. I think they used to make you do battle shock or a leadership test, and if you failed it, you fought after they did. I think that was their the rule, wasn't it?
Just take it as read that the versions in this book are toned down versions from the filth that they could be if they were part of the full Drukhari Codex.
Oh, so you have a lot of access to models in this codex, though. You really do, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's vast. The number of data sheets you can fill in this is vast.
But
if it was a bit of a waste of paper, though, to be honest, because that Inari like there's a lot of data sheets here that only go with one potential
build or
detachment.
detachment. Yeah,
And it's not a very strong detachment, and none of the units in it are particularly strong either.
Yep, that's definitely a thing.
So Inari just seem a bit rubbish, to be honest.
Currently, they do. They've oscillated between OP and nothing.
You can take Harlequins, though, because Harlequins are in a similar boat, except that you can at least take them in regular armies.
Yeah. You can include some Harlequins, and they are worth including in some cases.
They're not too bad.
Yeah.
So, overall judgment of the book, then?
I mean, I think the array of data sheets is nice. I guess because they change. I mean, there's Crusade Roses here as well, obviously. The array of data sheets is nice. The points being out of date again is frustrating. And then I also think that having a bunch of data sheets that are not good in most of the detachments is also somewhat frustrating.
I feel the internal balance is a little bit off in this book. That there are some units that you just wouldn't take.
Yeah.
I think whatever way you want to feel Eldar, I think has been supported in one way or another in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me pick your brain then, Mark. You're going to make your first Eldar detachment in 10th edition, or not the detachment. You're going to make your first army, excuse me. Which detachment are you most excited about?
I would go straight to the Aspect Shrine one, because having all the various multicolored Aspect warriors with all of their specialisms appeals to me. The core ability they get is nice and simple with the reroll ones, and the punches that they can make and do is kind of fun. So I'm pretty happy with those.
So
Eldar is Aspect Warriors.
Sorry?
For me, Eldar are Aspect Warriors, and all the different colours and the...
Yeah. They've been neutered for a while to a point where you kind of aren't really bothered about taking them outside of a couple of them. But now most of them are pretty useful, one way or the other.
All right. Nice. Okay, then maybe when I try and play my army for the first time, I will try and build an Aspect host. Maybe that's where we should go in a future video when we build our starter lists.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
So, Con, on a power rating, what do we think? Is this a strong codex, or is it a competitive codex? Is it a fluffier codex? Where do you think it's leaning?
I think people who are used to Eldar and are used to keeping other armies at arm's length and shooting them and dancing away and being annoying will continue to be able to do so in this codex, and I think it will be pretty powerful.
John, first impression?
It's so not my playstyle, so I'm struggling to see, I just like to weaken things with shooting and then charge things, and this doesn't feel quite like that. So hopefully it'll be good, because I've got an army now, but I'll get back to you in a few weeks.
So what we want from you then, John, we want is a commitment for when you're actually going to play with this army.
Well, I'm waiting on the damn warp spiders, right? Like, I was going to spray this guy with the 5 warp spiders, and then I was going to paint them. And I got the paint scheme from Miles, because it was his army, so I was going to try and match his army. So I was going to do that, but the warp spiders, I'm still fucking waiting from them from Element Games, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later almost.
Ugh. And
apparently they're still not out of stock. So the commitment will be a month. When I get my warp spiders, I will try and play within a month. How does that sound? Because I'll need to make them. I'll need to spray them. Are warp spiders as fiddly as this guy to make? Because this guy took the entire evening.
Not quite. they're close. They're not quite.
Okay, great. Because I care, having never played Eldar, or not played Eldar in 25 years, when I was halfway through that guy, and he just was not going together in any way, shape, or form, I was like, I literally said out loud on my stream, I was like, I don't even care about this guy, I just want to go paint some Blood Angels.
So, how annoying it was to try and get all the things lined up on the lightning at the bottom where he's popped out. Each warp spider doesn't have that, but they do have 4 arms you've got to try and get together in the right place on their gun. So that is a bit fiddly.
My god, okay. I think Miles just told me to buy warp spider, because he told me to buy them. You think he just told me to buy them to troll me?
The ones, they were 2 pieces and done.
Oh no! The old metal ones were one solid piece of metal, and that's
No, the backs weren't attached. The back used
no,
to come.
only on the Exarch. The back
Was it only on
wasn't
the Exarch?
attached. For the basic warp spider in metal, they were one solid lump of metal.
I think
Wow.
I'm pretty sure I've got half a dozen of those somewhere.
Nice. So, are we done with this book? Are we going to do some pile?
Yeah. It feels strong to me. It feels like it's got a lot of damage output. It feels like a difficult army to play well, which is good. Because that's what, to me, Eldar have always been. They should be lethal, but hard to play with.
Yeah.
And
I believe the term is high skill.
From what I've seen from this evening and elsewhere, that seems to be how they're set up. I don't like the fact that the internal balance seems a bit skew, and there are units in there that really don't bring anything to the table, which I think makes it feel a bit bloated. But at the same time, if you cut those units, you'd be upsetting a lot of people. Even the units that they have cut, they've upset a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
A bit like the Space Marine Codex. It's sometimes okay if you're not playing hyper competitive to have a few units in there that are there because legacy or fluff or just because they look cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, fair.
There's a few in there for that, especially Guardians, which I just can't see why you would.
Yeah. Previously, you would take them because having units of Guardians allowed you to get more fate dice and more messing around with them, and now they don't do that. So
That's the one you bring them.
Yeah.
And actually, to be honest, Dire Avengers, again, I'm not sure what they're for.
For putting out a huge volume of fire.
But it's shit fire.
Yes, but there's a lot of it.
Kill a Gretchen. And probably
and you can give them lethal hits.
Yeah.
Lethal hits isn't so bad. But only for one turn.
Yeah. For a CB, yeah.
The sustained might not be too bad either. If it's sustained on 5s from using that new Phoenix Lord.
Indeed.
What a bolt of fire, effectively. Short range bolt of fire.
Yeah.
Shall we? Pile of shame.
I think we should. So, transition.
Widdly wee.
And we're back.
Mephigrot.
And is John going to remember to do that transition?
I pressed start and stop on the video, so I will have like a defined cut point where I can transition. So yes.
Okay.
So welcome to Pile of Shame.
Not shame, Corey.
Gory, yeah, pile of gory.
We're back with the pile of gory. I love it.
So, what hobby-ish things have we been doing? Let's start with John. You finished your Dante.
I got him finished. You messaged me like 2 weeks ago and said, I feel horrible, I am ill, and I've been painting all day because I feel terrible. So I felt terrible, I had a fever, and I was like, damned if I'm going to lie at home and feel sorry for myself. So finally, probably 2 years after he came out, he's finished.
Which is great because he's been on the last like 3 or 4 pile of gories that we've done, and we're not doing these every week.
Yeah. And I guess I painted my
time, so I'm glad to see it finished.
I had problems fitting him in when the tournament I was at because someone was like, I'm not sure he'll fit in there with the wings. I was like, he actually doesn't come with wings. I've just put them on. And the guy was like, oh, okay, just go in there. And then I painted my first Bloodthirster head as well. I really didn't know what to do with it, but I think it turned out kind of okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely looks bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
Why is there a Blood Angel's head on the ground?
Because that comes as part of the Sanguinius.
A Space Marine head comes on that ground.
Yeah.
But he's painted as a Blood Angel.
Well,
yeah.
What else would it be?
I don't know, an Ultramarine?
I suppose, yeah, in hindsight, you could have maybe made it a different chapter.
Dante goes around killing Ultramarines.
Well, he doesn't go around killing Blood Angels either, does he?
He goes around and Blood Angels tend to be dead.
They're indestructible.
He was a very fun model to paint. I've started on the Sanguiner as well, actually, and he feels equally epic. So
I have found that a lot of the new kind of characters, especially the character Space Marines, are just so nicely kind of built and laid out to paint.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
nice open pose, easy to build. Yeah, I've been impressed a few times with the sort of the Space Marine characters. And that.
Yeah, Lycus is absolutely not open and easy to get into all the nooks and crannies, so that'll be a massive.
No, and by the looks of it, you can't even sub-assembly him very easily.
No, you really can't.
So that'll be fun for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll probably spray him black, and he'll be black, and we'll play with him. So yeah. I was so pleased to get this guy finished. He's been way overdue.
Cool.
And he looks good. I love the wings. I think the wings are really subtle, but they add a lot to that model.
Oh, thanks, man. Wasn't entirely sure about it, so.
I don't like him. Sorry.
They're just they're actually fine cast first edition Sanguinius wings. So
Yeah. I can see that, and yeah, I respect that the wings are on there. It's not an aesthetic I'd go for this version of Dante personally.
He looks like he's wearing a wingy cloak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would catch fire under his jump jet.
You say that, but the Primaris captain literally comes with a cloak. But yeah.
Yeah, I know, that's stupid as well.
All right.
Okay.
What you guys got for us?
No capes, darling.
Right. Okay. So, Mark, you've been busy building things by the looks of it.
Yeah, the two top ones and the bottom left one of the things I've actually been doing. So this is the basic.
John Warp spiders that you nicked?
What? Yeah, absolutely. That's yeah.
That's why John hasn't got any.
So you got the warp spiders in the top left there, and you've got the Exarch equipped with the 4 power blades because I'm gonna have them running with Lycus, who's down there in the bottom left.
Yep.
Baharoth is enormous and has some beautiful, glorious wings, and I love the sculpt. It's absolutely brilliant. The Azaman model there next to Baharoth is a conversion that I've done out of a Autarch that I've put on some Dire Avenger stuff to convert it and make it a bit different and unique and so forth. You got some fire dragons in the top right there that I've also built and sprayed. And in the bottom is the current state of my collection of Eldar army, such as it is. Not massively specialized, but a little bit of everything. And one day I'll get to put in some actual paint on it rather than just little bits here and there.
So, as we're giving John shit for when he's going to play with his Eldar army,
yeah,
let's give Mark shit. When are you going to get some of your Eldar army painted?
Probably never. I don't know. There's no way I'm committing to that.
Did you go back and respray a bunch of stuff?
Because I seem to remember you had more things painted in this army than you do now.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I had some older models that have been replaced with newer models, so this is either entirely or almost all entirely post range refresh models.
No, that'll be why probably then.
Cool.
So yeah, and I've got 12 jet bikes on order to come through the Imperium magazine at the start of March. So hopefully that'll turn up at a semi-reasonable price.
Well, I saw that you can get a really good deal on those jet bikes on the Imperium magazine.
Yeah, so instead of like 37 or 40 quid for 3 jet bikes, it's 10 quid for 2 jet bikes. So it's about a half to 2/3 of the cost, give or take.
Yeah. So how many copies of that issue did you order?
6 copies.
6. Okay.
So
12 jet bikes for 60 quid. That is a steal, actually.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And the biggest unit that can come in these days is 6. So yeah.
Tune is 6, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Very cool. Okay, so I did a little bit of painting. Like John mentioned earlier, I was ill for a while. I had that horrible respiratory virus that went round and took me out for a few days, so I really couldn't do a lot.
So many people.
So I sat at home and painted some random shit, like a vending machine.
I love the
Does
vending machine.
las cannons not have drilled barrels?
Actually, they don't, and it's to do more with the shape of it. I didn't really know what to do with it, so I've painted it black on this one, but I'm not happy with that. But the shape didn't lend itself for cutting into either.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a little ridge that sticks out, doesn't it? It's a
ridge in there, yeah. So I'm not quite sure what to do with it. I have to admit, to be honest, I don't like the ballistas model.
Okay.
And actually, this is a bit of a weird mixture because I only finished the ballistas like last night, because I just want to get it knocked off and done.
Fair enough.
But no, I'm not a big fan of that, and I do think that at some point I would like to try and just build the ballistas.
Like, could you take a firstborn missile launcher last Cannon 1 and put it on a big tactical base or something?
Even if I can just make the mounting point and then just put it onto a normal Redemptor Dreadnought, because I've only got one of these. I'm not paying 45 quid for another monopose Dreadnought.
Oh god, no. I was so glad picking these up cheap just after the big box set launched, and I got 2 extra ones for 20 quid each when people were getting rid of them. They didn't think they're any good.
Yeah. So I'm not buying a second one because I'm not paying that. So I might try and make a conversion of something to sort of like build it out because, all right, I've got one, I've done it. But I don't know if I'll do another one. I put together another Telemon Dreadnought to play with the Grots Detachment.
Cool.
Nice.
Because the Grots Detachment gives him even more move, and the fact that you can give him a 5-up feel no pain on top of all his other saves and things is just hilarious. And I found a random custodian guard that at some point it clearly have built but hadn't bothered to paint, so he got done at the same time.
Fair enough.
And that is in a 3D printed Gengar.
Okay, why not?
It was on there. The vending machine is not 3D printed. It come from a box from somewhere or other of just random scatter.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a vending machine. Yeah, why not? And then I did some more painting on top of that. So I did some BattleTech. So there's a couple of pictures here. So the 4 on the whatever side of the screen it is, they're all the same sort of size. 2 of those are 3D printed. And 2 of them are official Catalyst Game Lab miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
So I did all 4 of those. Anybody who's a bit of a BattleTech nerd would sort of recognise what I'm saying here. I've decided they all come from Solaris, and therefore the colour scheme for all of the BattleTech miniatures is now look at me, who cares, I'm from Solaris.
Because Solaris, for those who aren't aware, is basically a gladiator planet where they all get together and have big fights in arenas and just smash.
It's just for the audience anyway, so who gives a shit about any colour schemes?
Mm-hmm.
And the big one on the top right doesn't look much bigger, but that's why there's just another picture underneath there, sort of skit next to the regular miniatures. That was that's an official miniature. The Catalyst recently did their Clans Invasion Kickstarter. I say recently because it was only recently, as in the last few months, been delivered, but it was actually a couple of years ago and ended up being one of those Kickstarters that sort of
goes on
years
forever.
late delivering. They had all sorts of problems with the transport and the shipping, and then they started charging people hundreds of pounds shipping and this like that instead of the £20 that they quoted and this sort of thing. So they had a real monumental fuck up, and they to say sorry, they included this Timberwolf miniature, which is sort of like
Mad Cats,
which is just a bigger one basically. And I did that one as well. So none of these are for me. These are all for somebody else, one of my community members. And I painted him up as well, so you can sort of see how much bigger he is than the other 4. So they've all gone to him. He's happy with that.
So I was looking at stuff from the Gamma Toy Trade Show currently going on in America at the moment. Mainly because I was keeping up on all the Star Wars Unlimited news that was going on. But one thing I saw there was a slide from one of the US distributors who was listing the biggest selling and most popular miniature games in the world right now. Number 1 was Warhammer 40,000. Number 4 was Age of Sigmar. Number 2 was BattleTech.
Yeah. It's gained a lot of traction. So GW have lost a lot of friends lately over the last few years. And that's meant that there's a lot of kind of orphaned wargamers looking for something to play. So BattleTech, it's an 80s game originally. They have always been quite good at supporting. They don't Legends anything.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's been in the game at some point, it's still in the game now.
Yep.
Although that's not to say that they'll sell the miniatures. They're also quite open for things like 3D printing and stuff like that. So
cool.
They've built a bit of goodwill in the community from that. And they've done a lot of other things that have lost a lot of goodwill in the community, but I'm not the place to talk about. It's not the right forum. But it has gained a lot of traction. Like I say, I really enjoy Alpha Strike because I find it a really quick and easy game to play. I find regular BattleTech a bit too slow, but real hardcore gamers love their crunch, love the rolling hundreds of dice to roll on scatter tables for frag missiles, this sort of thing.
The ability to micromanage which upgrades you've given your model and your unit, and they all cost points to do, and all the weight and the heat sinks and the loadouts and all this stuff.
There's really not a lot of that in actual BattleTech. So there's an RPG where you can do all that, but mechs come with fixed loadouts. So what you might buy is you would buy, there's a bushwhacker there, I'm going to have a bushwhacker XYZ, whatever model it is, and that comes with these heat sinks, these weapons, these things. But where the real micromanagement comes in is in things like is the actual gameplay itself. You know, I'm running up to him and I'm kicking him in the shins, and then I'm going to try and jump on him, and I'm going to fire a frag equivalent of a cluster rocket, and then I'm going to roll on all the individual armor panels that I've hit, and that's going to damage the underlying systems on the center torso. But I've not got anything in the center torso anymore, so that damage roll is going to move over to here, and that's going to. It's that kind of crunch is where they get really, really excited. From an actual customization point of view, there's really fuck all in it. You just buy a mech, which is something that really surprised me, coming from sort of a background of a lot of mech warrior and things like that, where it was all about optimizing your loadouts and where are you going to put your armor and things like that. To find that the actual game doesn't have that in it unless you're playing the RPG, which is something I do love. I do love the fact that the RPG, the kind of epic scale thing, the Alpha Strike, all those game systems all interlinked, so you can play all of them at the same time. So you're playing the RPG and then you're using your character, but using the BattleTech standard rules for that fight. And then we're going to go to a larger grand scale game and we're going to use the Alpha Strike. You know what I mean? That's But yeah, I was really shocked at the complete lack of kind of customization with these. You just pick the variant that you want, which shocked me. It really did. Someone's come from that more video game side of BattleTech.
You'll have to let us know what Carter thinks about the job you've done on his stuff.
He seemed to like him. Yeah, he seemed pretty happy with it, which is good because I really didn't ask him before I just decided. He had these complicated ideas for a paint scheme, and then I just thought, fuck it, I'm going to paint it however I want, and they're going to be bananas. So I've got some more on the painting desk, and the colour schemes are only getting weirder.
Excellent.
The one thing I do want to say is, like, you talked a little bit about, like, Games Workshop not making some enemies, but maybe having a little bit of trouble.
It's some of the old hands.
Yeah, but the thing that I noticed...
Fuck out of me the last year.
Yeah. The thing that I noticed is, like, I ordered those 5 warp spiders, and I ordered them from Element. But even from Element, it's still £32 now for 5 tiny plastic guys. I'm like, so from Games Workshop, that's £8 per warp spider. And I was like, that's what characters used to cost not too long ago.
And when we got into it back in the 90s, it was £8 for 5 metal models.
You know, so I'm starting to get to a point where, like, touch wood, I can afford to buy Warhammer, but I assume that if they keep going this way, some people will be getting priced out.
It is beginning to price me out. I've got a young family. I've got, I don't have that much money I can spend on hobbies and things. So it's beginning to push me out.
And the bit that pisses me off the most is the models that we've had and built and painted for years. GW have decided to retire from play so that they can try and get you to buy more stuff. And that,
in
to
my
me,
edition, I owned every Codex more or less that was released. In 10th edition, I've got the Space Marine one, the Blood Angels one, and a couple of others. I really don't. And that's because the cost of them is starting to get so high. I used to pick up every FOMO box and things like that just for the sake of it. I don't do that now because it's gotten too expensive. Now, BattleTech isn't that much cheaper model per model. You know, you want to get a box set of kind of a Lance, a 4 mechs or 5 mechs, you're probably looking at £20-25, so they're £5 a mech. And the quality is not as good. It doesn't show so much in these pictures, but the gold one is an official model, and the quality of it is garbage. The whole left-hand side of his head is just a bubbly mess of detail being completely lost, and there's nothing I can do about it because it's a slightly soft plastic. It's not like I can really neatly smooth that up or something like that. So the quality is not that particularly high, and they cost £5 a pop. The difference is, though, that if I'm playing a standard BattleTech game, I'm probably only going to have 4 mechs.
Yeah.
So that's my whole army is at £25. So although model per model expensive, you only need a few. And even if I'm playing Alpha Strike, I'm probably going to have between 5 and 10.
Yeah.
So 30-40 quid, which is these days infantry for 40k.
Yeah, it's getting bonkers, man.
So
I think the theory is the older we get, and we are getting a bit older, the less tolerance for bollocks we have.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So I'm not quite as far gone as Mark. I do still play a fair bit of 40k. 40k is still probably my favourite miniatures game. but I definitely don't spend as much money as I did because the cost of stuff has gotten too high for it to be an impulse purchase anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And I've actually just actively decided that, like, I'm not retiring a bunch of my firstborn models because they don't want me to play them. Like, I you know, it's always a bit of... You feel a bit bad, right? Like, I took all my old Sangre Guard, I got 40mm bases, I stuck them on top of the bases, but I've been to a tournament since then. Nobody cared. Because guess what? Everybody else is in the same boat where they're like, oh, that model got retired. I don't want to pay 50 quid for that new model. Do you mind if I just put it on the space? No, we don't mind at all.
I'm using my old Sanguinius model and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm
Agreed. Agreed.
So what does worry me, getting a little political about this, well, not political, but it's like semi, I suppose. Workshop recently put out an article about how they're bringing the International Tournament Circuit, or ITC, more in house with what they're doing. They want more tournament organizers to register with them and get supported by them for points and so forth. And I'm just thinking, is this a route for them to go down and saying, if you're registered with us and you want to take part in the ITC, no non-official GW stuff. You must be using all of our blah, 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 blah. And the moment they do that, that's just going to go. That's going to be a big backlash. Because ITC was formed so that they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Guess we'll find out.
It's potential, isn't it?
I guess we'll see how that goes. Maybe
Did you see the big drama this week about the Vindicator tank drama?
Not being in the new Emperor's Children Codex. Yeah, I saw that.
No, there was other drama about people have been using the Horus Heresy Vindicator tank at tournaments, and it's apparently smaller than the 40k Vindicator tank.
See, I would have thought it was basically the same.
Because it doesn't have the siege shield.
The shield doesn't add much width to it. We're talking a few millimeters on each side.
It probably adds like a half inch, which I don't think makes much difference. But someone said to me, they were like, John, you took that Vindicator tank to a tournament. And I said, all right, I'm super sorry. Let me just get my metal Vindicator tank out that is smaller than the Rhino from like 1990.
And it's a genuine 40k tank, yeah.
And I'll just bring that to the next tournament. And he's like, you've got a metal one? And I was like, yeah, it's like this. It's tiny. So I guess at the next tournament, I have to decide, am I still taking my Horus Heresy one, or am I taking the tiny metal one? Because the tiny metal one will be legal. But the Horus Heresy one...
Bring all of them.
Yeah, I thought about that as well.
And
just
when somebody starts getting dickish at you,
just
say,
pull out
I'm sorry, let me replace it with this genuine 40k model for you. Is that better, mate?
Okay. Because I put the metal one on top of the Horus Heresy one, and the metal one is it's like a proper inch smaller, both width and height.
I haven't got the new Horus Heresy standard pattern one built up because I've got Laser Destroy. Right, and admittedly, this is the resin one, which is identical to the plastic one.
Yeah.
Right? So siege shield and a base, because as we've talked about before, I put my some of my tanks on bases for ease of.
Yep, because you're nerd.
Because you're modelling for disadvantage,
Width of the tank with the siege shield. The siege shield is the widest part of the model.
Yeah.
Is what's that? 90mm across.
Okay.
Sure.
Width of the Horus Heresy one, because it's got some sticky outy bits as well.
It's got the vents, doesn't it? The exhaust, sorry.
Yeah.
Is 88mm across. So for the sake of 2mm of width, which could be made up for whether I've bothered to put some stuff on the greebles on it or not.
Yeah.
I think anybody saying that playing with that rather than that is playing for advantage is talking bollocks.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I have the metal one. So
I'd just like to point out that the Horus Heresy one is taller. So what I'm losing on width, I'm gaining on fucking height. So
yeah. Well, I'm the Bud Angels player that puts wings on literally all of my jump units, so I know all about modelling for disadvantage. It's like
modelling for advantage if I don't bother putting the Space Marine in the hatch.
It's a good point though, because like back in the day, a lot of people didn't put wings on Sangre Guard just because the wings were so fiddly.
Off, didn't they?
Yeah.
I'm one of the people that still. I only own 5 Sanguinary Guard, and they're all the old ones. and it's because I fucking hate that model. I've always hated that model. I just think the old poses were stupid. They all look like they trip over their own feet.
Yeah, they did.
And the new ones I do prefer, but I don't like the heads. So at some point, I'm going to make some sort of hybrid of the two. The new ones have got better poses. The old ones have better heads.
If I was serious about it, I would not buy either of the old Sandguard or the new Sandguard, but I'd get some more Dawnbreakers. But they're ridiculously expensive.
They are so expensive now.
Because they're Forge World resin, they're like 70 quid for 5 models. Fuck that noise.
Yeah. Oh, well, good job on getting so much painted this week, guys. And thank you so much for running us through the Eldar Codex. If people want to see some videos about the Eldar, let us know in the video description.
Yeah, if we've talked complete bullshit and you want to correct us or tell us what's better or the best
none of us are hardcore Eldar players. Mark knows a little bit more than the rest of us. But I'm sure that there are some wicked codexes, combos in the book, better than that shitty Eldar Avengers one that cost 700 points.
Yeah, that wasn't the best combo we came up with ever, was it?
Giving people shit about using this old model, they're the same fucking width.
I'm going to screenshot that.
And on that note,
on that bombshell, thanks so much for watching.
Indeed.
Subscribe,
cheers, guys.
Subscribe responsibly.
Yeah.
What's your line, Tony?
Yeah, subscribe responsibly. Subscription, you've got a finite amount.
And we're probably doing Vanguard next, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Vanguard. Getting started Vanguard. All right.
Yeah.
See you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.